Thank you, thank you. I call this meeting to order and would like to thank everybody for coming out. Before we get into our business, what is the way we should do business, especially being in a church, is to start with a prayer. Or we'll start with the national anthem. I'm sorry. Thank you. Donna, Jackson, please feel free to sit, please. Donna Jackson, open with a prayer, please.
Good evening. Could you all stand, please? As we ask God's blessing upon this evening procedure, Father and God, this evening, I come to you this evening with nothing in my hands, but come to you with thanksgiving this evening, Father. Lord, we are thanking you and we are asking you to pass your blessing upon this procedure this evening. Father, whatever it is this evening, may you bring it to call this evening. Our land this evening, dear Father, top to bottom this evening, the ministers of government and each and every one of us this evening. Father, our land this evening, our children this evening, especially our boy children this evening. Father, this land has gone away from you this evening. I'm asking you this evening if you can bring it back to us this evening in everything that we do this evening. May your blessings call upon us this evening. Fall upon us in every situation this evening as we discuss this evening what is going on in this country. Father, we are asking your direction. We are asking you to fall into place in this place as we gather this evening in other name, but in Jesus' holy and conquering name. Amen. Mr.
Thank you, thank you. You may be seated this time again. Thank you. All right, I make an introduction again. I'm Andrew Glasgow. I'm the president for the St. Philip South branch, which is an offshoot of the Barbados Labour Party. This evening, what brings us here, you good people, as I welcome you from your homes after your dinner. Surely this evening is nothing to do with politics. It's to do with what was in the prayer just now. And what we all know as Barbadians is started to seep into our society. It's that monster crime I speak of. We are all residents, I'm assuming, of St. Philip. And it has started to seep into St. Philip as it is. And St. Philip is perceived now to be a hot spot. I, like you as a resident, the MP in Darware is a resident too of St. Philip. And my dear comrade came to me and said, Glasgow, I do not like what is happening in St. Philip. We have to seek conversation with the people in St. Philip. The branches function really works hand in glove with the MP. And I answered the call in doing the coordination. I'm a little disappointed really for the work that I've done to get the people out. I suppose they'll come later. But the conversation the minister avails himself to. And we've gone to get the good invitation up here through the Commissioner's office. And having with us this evening, Superintendent Bruce Rowe. He's from the Southern Division. As a branch, we have been doing good things. And at this juncture, starting this evening, we'll set a journey across the constituency. Mind you, I said not political. We'll be going across the constituency in a series of these sort of fora to have the residents come out and have conversation. It's more than just talking about it and having a presentation from the people who are experts in it. The police, we are not experts, the police are. And I would say that compliments really are due to the Royal Barbados Police Force. Over the years, they have held a very good record in solving crime. They continue to. But this scourge seems to be in our society now, and this is what we'll be dealing with. So thank you for coming out this evening, and I will introduce you now to our MP, the Honorable Indarware. Thank you.
Thank you, President Glasgow, members of the head table, comrades, ladies and gentlemen. I want to first of all start by thanking you for giving of your time to come out this evening and join us in discussion on what is taking place in our constituency and in our part of St. Philip. I often refer to St. Philip as the Republic because I know we have a certain swagger in St. Philip. We do things together, we live together. We look after each other, we support each other. And if you follow the legacy of St. Philip, as we know it to be, whenever there's a Calypso competition that features John King or featured John King or Red Plastic Bag in the finals, you will have the whole of St. Philip showing up. And if there was any belief that that crown was going to come to St. Philip by Red Plastic Bag, the whole of the National Stadium looked red with plastic bags and red everything. So we in St. Philip, we have a legacy for holding together. And I remember when Telston Payne was selected to play for the West Indies, the Kensington stand was packed with St. Philip people. And he hadn't even played a match yet for the West Indies, but he put some blows in one of the fast bowlers who was playing for the West Indies at the time, who, when Telston started to bat, we had their St. Philip people in Kensington stand. So St. Philip is known for supporting its own. If you put on a cricket match, St. Catherine's versus any one of the First Division teams, you would find that St. Philip would come out in large numbers in support of the St. Catherine's Cricket Club. And it's not that we really and truly don't support others, but we make sure that we fix our home ground first, because it is well known, and the engineers would tell you, that if you get your micro fundamentals right, then you can hold there to your macro responsibilities. And so what we are seeking to do this evening is to fix our micro fundamentals. And that is seeking to address what has happened or what is happening in St. Philip, because it's not just St. Philip South. You'll find that the instances that we've had with crime and gun violence would have affected St. Philip West, St. Philip North, and St. Philip South. And as the elected member of Parliament for St. Philip South, given the fact that right here from us in Work Hall Tenantry, we've had one death and robbery, both taking place with the use of guns. And right across from us, by the old people's home, not too far away, we've had one death as well. And then in Bel Air, we've had a young man losing his life to gun violence. I say to you as MP that we have had too many. As a matter of fact, I would have preferred if we didn't have any at all. But if we can seek then to have a conversation with the people of St. Philip, for us to start, first of all, to one, make sure that we can all pull together in helping our young people understand that there's a better way to live, and that many of us have had to struggle. I am living proof of what struggle really is. I continue to tell people I was born in Church Village, and any of you who know Church Village would know that Church Village is a predominantly poor people area. Things have changed a lot now, where a lot of people have graduated from being very poor to middle class. But having reached that point in life, your DNA doesn't necessarily change. And mine has not changed. I'm the son of a very poor grandmother, a son of a very poor mother, a son that was raised by a single parent, one who had to struggle in Church Village to get the school bus on mornings coming from Blades Hill or College Savannah to get to school, many times without breakfast, many times without lunch money in your pocket, but you still had to go to school. And so when the bell rang for lunch, you left the classroom last, because there was no point running out first when you're not going to join the line for the canteen. And your place really was at the pipe, where you turned on the pipe and you had some water to drink, and then you hoped that those who had the early lunch was ready to play some cricket or some football. And that basically was a struggle. But you committed yourself, however, to making sure you did well at your schoolwork, though at times I've questioned the reality of having to be in school so long. As a matter of fact, Jerome Davis would tell you, I wrote an essay one day where I made reference to school as a form of punishment and feeling as though I'm in prison. And I thought that he would have failed me. I think he gave me 80-something%, actually recognizing that what I said was a lot of what he felt also. The point I'm trying to make is that all of us can do great things. And there's really no reason why we shouldn't aim for the highest bar. And that's perhaps what drives me more than anything else. To seek to assuage the concerns of those of us who are living in fear in St. Philip because of gun violence. And I want to say to all of you, there's no need to fear. And that is the reason why I was adamant that I asked the president of the branch to make sure we can get a member of the Royal Barbados Police Force to come and do a presentation. As a member of the Cabinet of Barbados, I'm acutely aware of the respect that we have to give to the work of the Royal Barbados Police Force. And I'm also acutely aware that we don't discuss matters of national security in public. And so when many of you have been calling me or sending me WhatsApp messages asking me to tell you what the police is doing about all this gun violence in St. Philip, the only thing I can do is assuage your concerns and let you know that the police is actually working. The Royal Barbados Police Force does an excellent job. And in your angst, you may feel as though they should come and tell you exactly what you're doing. I know one resident from Foul Bay called me up angry and said to me, I need police patrol in Foul Bay. The police isn't passing through here. I need the police to patrol St. Martin's. I am tired of all of this and all this that is happening. You really, in Dar, we elected you to represent us, and you must put pressure on the police. And all I could do is listen and respond by saying, the police does not discuss matters of national security in public. I cannot discuss matters of national security in public. But I want to assure you that even if you don't see a police van, it doesn't mean that the police isn't present, because they don't always show up in a police van. And that's the reality. So don't let us bash. Let us have a conversation. Let us discuss this matter. Because our reality is such that we feel as though we can force or foist upon the Royal Barbados Police Force the way we feel they should police. And you may be right for thinking so, because this is your country and this is your parish. But what I wouldn't want you to do is sit and believe that nothing is being done. And that's the reason why you're invited here this evening. My president said he's disappointed with the level of support this evening, and I am not. I am actually grateful to all of you who came, because I know for a fact that this conversation is for you and about you. And if it is that you want to play a greater role in, first of all, looking after your own security, then this is the place for you to come. I equally believe that when I look in the audience, I see a large number of mature people. So most of you would either have raised children, have children, or grandchildren that you love. And I've said when I spoke at the vigil in Rice's for the gathering when we had to live with the hurt and pain and support a family where a mother and a son was lost to gun violence. I said then, and I will say again, do not forget the breeding ground where this violence has started. And if we seek to ignore the harsh reality that every last one of us must play a part in the upbringing of our children, and that the mother or father that says not my boy or not my girl is not doing that boy or girl any good. The mother or father that says not my child, not my grandson, and I have a living case that I have to deal with and confront for what it is. And I know it wouldn't make me popular as an MP, but it certainly would make me comfortable in my conscience that I would not encourage a grandmother to believe that her grandson is a saint. And in actual fact, he is not. He is anything but a saint. And I have to call it for what it is if I want to see that boy's life turn around. And this is the reality that we all face. We come to the church and we pray. We come to the church and we listen to the pastor. But then we can't face up the young ones that we are responsible for, to say, listen, this is the order in this house. This is the order in our home. But you will go to the same block where these young people gather. And you know what they say to you? Boss, the order is set. So they know order. They know their type of order. They go on to tell you, boss, nobody can disrespect the order. And they live by that. Hence the reason why a son or a daughter will lie in cold blood because the order was disrespected. And if this does not send chills through you to help you to understand that your responsibility as well is to set the order in your home. The order must be set. But the order equally must not be disrespected. And if we can get that in every single home across St. Philip and replicate it right across Barbados, that will be the first step we would have made to end a lot of the gun violence we have in this country. We can then elevate to the schools and the churches and all the rest. I get very, very concerned when I hear teachers are being bashed, when people believe that is the responsibility of a teacher only, because the teacher must play a role, but that a teacher must be bashed for a child being deviant at school, when in actual fact, the modern day language is don't flog the child, you do not believe in corporal punishment. That's the contemporary language. So you don't want the teacher to punish the child with some good lashes like what I got. Jerome can give me any because I considered myself a man then. But I got all of mine in primary school. And I saw nothing wrong with a teacher pulling me in line. As a matter of fact, I thank all those teachers that dared to flog me. With the exception of one, the one with long fingernails that pinched my ears. But at least I feared him so much that I made sure my homework was done. So there's some good in corporal punishment. Don't fool yourselves. All right, don't fool yourselves. And we can have this conversation forever. I don't believe that teachers should beat up children. And I do not believe that teachers should take out their frustration on children. But if the block can say the order is set, then we as society, we have to start and set the order too. And we must equally demand that the order cannot be disrespected. And so I ask all of you parents to take fresh guard this evening. Take fresh guard. Because this generation may go through its challenges, but we can protect the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one. And we may be able to transform Barbados to that zone of peace that we had when I was a boy growing up. My grandmother never locked the doors when we were sleeping. As a matter of fact, we had a back door that was made from galvanized and just a frame of wood. It never could lock. So we slept with our door open. We had what they call those jealousy windows, that when you push them up, it's only easy from outside to pull down, and you can open those windows and open the window and come in. We never had them bolted. We never had any security locks. Our house was never broken into. We left home, didn't have to worry about keys because we didn't need them. But if we can go back to making Barbados that zone of peace where your neighbor actually looks out for you, and that if your son or daughter went astray on the streets, he or she wouldn't do so for you to see, because either a punishment will be instaured by way of the person letting you know they're going to inform your parents, or if they were so close to the family, they would discipline you right there. I feared our postman because if at any time I was walking from Clifden, this steep hill to go down, and he was coming up, and it was during school hours, so I happened to be home and I should have been in school. The first thing he would say to me, "Youngster, why you're not at school today?" And I feared him for that because I had to be able to give a reason why I wasn't at school. So the postman also got involved in making sure we had the right type of upbringing. I am saying all this to say what to you? I'm saying to you that our society has changed. I'm saying to you that our people have given in to pressure. And so the type of people that we have to interact with today are not the same that we had as the ones we had in the past. I respected, and still do, every person that is senior to me. I'm not so sure that you're going to get that anymore with some of the people that we consider to be the young ones, who, especially those ones who are involved in gun violence, especially those ones who are involved in any type of crime. We have, ladies and gentlemen, a responsibility to ourselves and to our country, but more importantly, to our children. And this conversation this evening is one for you, first of all, to understand that as the MP for St. Philip South, and as one of the MPs in St. Philip, of the three of us that are currently serving, that I stand proud to say to you that we care and that we want to do something about what is taking place in St. Philip. I stand proud to say to you that I understand the breeding ground where a lot of this is taking place, and that we are doing our best to make sure we create jobs and a secure future for a lot of our young people. And I'm not going to say young men, because it ain't only young men. Don't fool yourselves. And any of you that believe that it's just young men, you're confused. Because the guy that went in broad daylight to Sheraton was facilitated by a young lady driving a vehicle. And why she herself did not carry out the act. That vehicle broke traffic lights and had no respect for law and order. It was driven by a young lady. We have a problem. And it's not a young man's problem. It's a problem that we have allowed to infiltrate our young people. That's what it is. But we're not too late. We're certainly not too late. Our government will play its part in making sure we can prepare a future where we've given the opportunity for young people to go back to university, so there's no excuse. No parent can say, I can't afford it, so when you come out of Hartson College or Princess Margaret, go and look for a job. You can't carry on to find a career that you're interested in. We've made serious and significant changes in agriculture, where you don't have to go to school to do agriculture without going in the sun or without a fork or a hoe. And that the changes we've made, you can now use these apps to operate a farm and stay in your house, or you can go on your computer. So we are targeting young people to make them better and to give them hope and a future, as we promised. And that we've made enough changes that people can now get vocational training. So it's not only about academia, but it's also about how we can give people first-hand exposure to a real job environment, hence the First Job Initiative, where people actually come into the work environment and see what it is like. And that our government is also trying to make sure that we can stabilize our economy and that we can wrestle crime to the ground, but that we are responsible enough that we know that we can't expose matters of national security. And if this young man can come to me and tell me this evening that he wants to get involved in politics because he believes that there are a number of things we should do for young people that are not being done, and so we can get positive minds coming along like this young man, then obviously I strongly believe that today's discussion should help us in a long way in recognizing how we, the seniors of our society, have a role to play, and that you, all of you young ones here, need to recognize as well, you don't settle a dispute by killing a man. The dispute is not settled. Because if you have to kill him, you didn't give him a chance. You don't settle a dispute that way. You settle a dispute by both parties recognizing that both of you have strengths and weaknesses, and that you may differ, but you should be mature enough to resolve. And that's where conflict resolution comes in. So ladies and gentlemen, I think I've said more than I actually planned to say. But I can stand here and speak to you because the more I speak, the more I feel this thing. And the more I want you to understand that this is about you, the people of St. Philip. And remember, united we stand, divided we fall. Superintendent Bruce Reed of the Royal Barbados Police Force, Bruce Rowe, sorry, came along this evening at our request to do a presentation for us, and he will go as far as he possibly can to let you know, one, what you can do to protect yourselves, but two, that you don't have to fear, and three, give you a chance to ask him questions and interact this evening. I'm obliged to you, ladies and gentlemen, Superintendent Bruce Rowe.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me apologize for my voice. I have a bit of a cold. I am pleased to stand here this evening to represent the Commissioner of Police, the gazetted senior command team of the force, and indeed the Southern Division, which I head as the divisional commander. And I will speak to you for a while on the crime situation, noting that I will not go into personal or intimate details because a lot of the crime that has happened in this division is still under investigation. So I don't want to create any areas for concern or any areas that one can take to the court. Right. I have worked in this division as a detective constable, a detective sergeant, a detective inspector. And let me back up a bit. I went to school in this division as well. I went to Princess Margaret. And as I was telling a friend of mine, whilst I was in second form at Princess Margaret, I saw my uncle for the first time in the Harbor Police uniform. And that was my inspiration to become a police officer. Right? I am in this organization now over 40 years. I'm happy for what I've achieved, and I'm happy to serve the public of Barbados. Very happy. Crime in Barbados today is at a level that we have never seen, an unprecedented level. Why? Because the young people of Barbados is of the opinion that they can take things in their own hands and do as they please. We are suffering because of what is happening out there in the society. For instance, when I was a young officer in this force, a murder was a one-off thing. You may see them once, 2, 3 a year. and most of the time it was more domestic orientated than what we're seeing now. I first saw a gun when I joined the Royal Parliament Police Force, and I was afraid of it. All right? Today, a gun is part of life in this small country called Barbados. We have had cases where we have arrested 14, 13-year-olds and 12-year-olds with firearms in this Barbados. Why? And I heard Mr. Weir touch on it, Minister Weir touch on it earlier. And when these things happen, the behavior of the parents as a result is alarming. The community police station, they want to beat the police. They want to carry on like they can walk in and take out that young child. Right? I want to stick St. Philip. St. Philip is a problem for me as the division commander and for the Royal Barbados Police Force. It has always been an area that I used to say it was unique to the rest of Barbados as far as policing is concerned. Because back then, the most you used to get, or you have to deal with in St. Philip, was pre-deal larceny. You will get the one-off instances of serious crime, but the most you used to respond to was pre-deal larceny and theft of keys. Now, upwards to this afternoon at 12 o'clock, I had to jump up and run to Cheshire St. John. Well, drive to Cheshire St. John because of a shooting. You understand? And crime has no boundaries because that incident does not involve a fella from St. Philip or St. John. It involved people from Bridgetown. You see? But this is how it goes. These things we call tablets, phones, technology, they're good and they're bad. The same way the minister uses it, I use it, other people use it, the criminal use it better than us. Okay? Believe me. The criminal use it better than us. I won't go into detail, but a cell phone a couple of weeks ago, because I know a bit about technology, caused me to send a team of officers to a house where we found a gun and stolen property. You know how we know that? Because of the communication of cell phone. Right? But the point here today is to speak about the crime situation in St. Philip. It's alarming. I took charge of this division last year, April, when it was at a very serious juncture. We have just lost the life of a police officer, and the commissioner felt then he needed to make some changes up here at management level, and I was called and asked to take over. I came. I have seen a lot. I have achieved a lot, but I'm still not happy. I think I can achieve more. How can I achieve more? By people like you in here helping me. That's where we are falling down. I'm not going to talk about charges in police force. Charges in police force will be dealt with. Charges in police force is a different topic for a different place. I'm dealing with crime and how you can help us to solve crime. Every crime happens in a time and a place. Somebody sees. Somebody hears something. Somebody tells something. Right? One time, people will call an officer that they have trust and faith in and tell them, well, I hear so-and-so, such and such happened. And you can work on that information, and 99% of the time, it is true. Today, people are afraid to talk to us. Why? Because the criminal element are threatening families. Right? You hear, and when you look at the crime that's happening, it is a regurgitation and a revenge type of thing that's going on in Barbados. People are putting what we call hits out on others. Drugs, okay? People go around and they rob one another of drugs. When a fella loses that drugs and the money is not there to pay for it, it can result in him taking some action. All right? And this is how it goes in a circle. I'm fearful for people because I know that there's information out there and people don't want to give it. But they come here this evening to talk to you on these things. We have systems in place. The police hotline, the Crime Stoppers, and they will leave my personal numbers here because people can call me at any time of day or night. That's why I'm here. And that's why I'm in charge, because I got a commitment to you. I got a commitment to my family. And why I'm so touched by it, I suffered by crime. I had my house broken into twice in 1 month. Over $20,000 in jewelry went. That's jewelry my grandmother and my mother gave me. You know that the guys had the gall to come back a second time? But fortunately, I was at my office and my good neighbors were able to give me a call. Well, then I broke the law. And I ain't afraid to say so, because I had to get there. And I was able to hold them in my house. Okay? They took the jewelry first and they came out, my televisions and liquor. As the fellow said, they come back to clean me out. So I understand what it is to suffer the dignity of someone not only breaking into your house. It's a personal thing, what you have to go through. The more serious side of it is when you have to lose a family member by the gun. A family member by the gun, something was done nothing wrong in this society, but was walking the road or being on the corner talking to a friend. These are the sort of things that touch me. I know the system is such that it happens. We've had over 32 murders in this Barbados so far. The last one, I think, was on Thursday or Friday, right? Sorry, the last one was on Friday night, where a dumb and deaf chap from Christchurch was beaten in town by the bus terminal and died the same night at the hospital. Right? We have a commitment to society. We have police officers were around the clock. Some, especially the detectives, some do not even reap any rewards from it. Because when you reach a certain level and you're working, right? Uniform fellas, they have to chip in and assist. We put strategies and systems in place to police Barbados. Because if we don't get Barbados police right, Barbados economy will end up in trouble. We are tourism orientated and we have to keep it right. The St. Philip crime to date and the bother in St. Philip really are the shootings and the murders. And I can tell you that it is in one little diameter. Okay? It's in one little diameter. We need your assistance in giving us or getting information to us. I know people are very afraid because they don't want to be seen talking to police on the streets. They're afraid that if they tell the police something, that the police will go back and say that Mary Jane or John Brown said it. I want to assure you that the systems we have in place, the police hotline, Crime Stoppers, I have a direct number to my office, which only I answer. And anything coming through those channels are safe. You don't have to give your name, you give the information. And we will work on it. Yes, Mr. Weir spoke, and I've heard the cry too. I received the calls at my office about not seeing police in areas. There's some areas, and I'm not going to stand here and tell you that we have police in every area. There's some areas that go unattended sometimes because of what is happening in Barbados. What I can tell you is that you in St. Philip can feel a bit safe, because not only that I have patrols turnover, I have the assistance of our tactical special units in St. Philip now by day and by night. And they're the ones that are visible. Plus the detectives who are working around the clock, bringing together the evidence to solve the murders, right? And the serious crime. Those are things that we don't, we can't throw in public. You will hear every now and again, you see in the paper every now and again when someone is charged, right? As I speak now, we have about 8 persons in custody in my division, right? And those 8 deal with one matter. So crime today is not a one person doing thing. It is syndicated. They're groups. The blocks, that's where it starts. And the prison is where the communication links builds and come out. You will see that a fellow lives in Bridgetown. He serves some time in my prison, but when he comes out of prison, he's in St. Philip. He's in St. John because of the connections that we've had in prison. In my early days as a policeman, we knew straight off if you get a break-in by night in a building and it's through the roof or through the door, we knew who we should look for. Not today. If you see, I got a WhatsApp post thing yesterday where 3 men just openly licking Digicel in Sky Mall. And as Mr. Weir said, rightfully, it's not only the young boys, they're young women. Why this is happening? What we call peer pressure. You want to be seen amongst, or you want to be a particular group, so you have to do what they ask you. They got something called indoctrination. If you want to be with me, then I can tell you what I want done, and you got to go and do it. If you don't go and do it, then I don't want you, or you can't be a part of my team. These are the things that we're grappling with today. Parents don't have the control of children like when I was a boy. I was a youngster. I couldn't be outside the house after 7 o'clock. Right? You go now, you can see 12 and 13-year-olds at fetes, about Bridgetown, about Oysters, about the places that, and they go to school the next day. We need to take back control of this place. We need your help in doing it. There's information out there. We need to garner that information and work with it, right? The murders, we have had spate of murders, but none like this. When I was a detective inspector in this division, we had 17 murders in this division in 1 year. We solved 16 of them. One we didn't solve, and the unfortunate one that wasn't solved was a policeman that got killed on the George Golf Course. Right? These murders will be solved. I stand and I say this because I know where we're at, but understand that investigation is a long, tedious task. There's the gathering of information, there's trying to check it, double check it, because we don't put, and we don't believe in putting the wrong person in prison for a hate crime. If a person is charged, obviously we have evidence to charge them. You understand? What will happen, we will find that people today and some of the young persons who come forward and give statements will turn around and go into court and renege on the evidence that they give and blame, say the police make them do this and the police make them do that. Well, technology is on our side because thanks to the Ministry of Government, we have improved and we continue to improve our technology so that when we interview you, we have these things recorded and the court can see it now for themselves and judge for themselves, right? I want to reach out to you all people. I promise you that we will continue to vigorously police St. Philip. We can bring this situation under control. Help me, please. Help me. Help me by providing the information. We just hear things. You don't have to see it. If you hear it, pass it on. We'll work with it from there. It may not always turn out to be accurate, but the slightest bit of information can help us. All right? I can tell you only last week, I received a call at my office and I sent a team to search a house in St. Philip, Rock Hall side. You know what it revealed? Tons of property that was stolen from a business place in St. Philip. So, you hear something, we know where the crimes are happening. We know what is stolen. And we will check and we'll work on it. I know that there's fear in society. I know that. Don't let fear stop you from assisting us. We cannot, the 1,500 police officers that are members of the Royal Barbados Police Force cannot police Barbados without your help. Right? Without your help. Each person got to be his neighbor's friend and keeper. In doing that, I encourage people, I encourage neighborhoods to form neighborhood watches. Get together and form some. I'm glad that since I took over the division, I have relaunched 3 neighborhood watches in this division. That works. Because when you're leaving home, somebody knows. And with technology today, you are able to see things and circulate information. I speak to Rowan's Park, very vibrant neighborhood, where last year they had 2 guys through the neighborhood said that they were selling cars for MQI. And by the time those 2 guys hit Facebook and WhatsApp, actually they came forward to the police. The police then are going to search for them, but they were doing a census on the vehicles for MQI. But it's how they went into the neighborhood, the way they were dressed, and probably how they spoke to some of the residents. So neighborhood watches are good. Police cannot manage them. We work with you in getting them set up. Every now and again we give you guidance. We have sit-downs with you, right? And it works. But they're small communities. You don't need a neighborhood watch. All you got to do is tell her your neighbor, I'm not going to be home. Keep your eyes out. You understand? Security of your homes. You need to look at that. Right? Gone are the days that Mr. Weir spoke about. I remember as a young boy, my grandmother used to pick us up, head to town for a morning, and you look the lantern in your house open. You come down back. You can't do that now. We have to look out for each other. we have to be each other's keeper. Where I live, there was a neighborhood watch and it went downhill. But you know, the people in my area operate now without the neighborhood watch and better than when they had the neighborhood watch. They asked me, let us reform it. I say, what's the justification? We actually live in like a neighborhood. We band together, we talk, we keep one another informed. People know, the next person knows when somebody's out. I was leaving home. I just tell my neighbor, look, I can be out for evening. Nobody at me. So these are the things that people have to learn and do. Don't be afraid to tell your neighbor or tell somebody you're not going to be home. If you see something and it looks wrong or you have doubts, call us. We may not get there at that time, but we will get there. And if you call the police and you ain't get no answer, there are chances that you can go. Okay? I know some of the things I probably will hear, but I rest assure you that we are vigorously policing. I'm not going into crime stats because crime stats can be taken wrong according to who's looking at them. I know that we have about 13 murders that are vigorously being investigated up this area, right? There's some that have been cleared up already, and we will continue to work and work hard to bring those murders to some successful conclusion. But it's not only the murders that we're investigating. We have to investigate every burglary. We have to investigate every other domestic matter. We have to investigate pretty larceny, which is still a problem, right? And all those things. And the volume of work in this 21st century has increased threefold for the police. So we have to prioritize what we deal with and how we deal with things, right? I know that sometimes the police do not get back to people, and you preach to them. If you see how busy you are and you can't get back, call back, let them know we've not forgotten you, ma'am or sir, we will get to you, right? I will end by asking you to give us your support. I think Barbados still have the confidence in the Royal Barbados Police Force. I need your support, right? You have the Crime Stoppers number 1-800-TIPS. You have the police hotline 211. My office number is 418-2665. And only me answer that line. 418-2665. And I also have a police cell phone, which is 836-0961. If you have to call me, don't worry. I'll answer day or night. All right? I will take my seat and take some questions from you all. Thank you very much.
You would have heard the presentations from Minister Weir as well as from Mr. Rowe. So if there are any questions that you have at this time. You're hearing me? Okay. Just to reflect a bit on what was shared earlier, we would have heard quite a bit already about the status of crime in the parish, but by and large we're still a part of Barbados, and what happens in the wider society, other parishes, does impact on what happens in St. Philip and vice versa. What happens in St. Philip impacts the rest of the nation. I know that you were inspector?
Senior
Senior Superintendent Rowe said he wasn't going to be dealing with statistics. But the reality is that statistics are in our faces every day. Then there is the added issue of sensational news reporting and the impact of the information that is fed daily on social media. I'm always on social media, and every time there's a murder, or there's a shooting, or there's a stabbing, somebody posts it in the most glaring way. Another one, we now at 30, we at 32. You know, you're seeing this over and over again, and it can have an impact on you psychologically. It can fuel a lot of fear, a sense of, you know, being robbed of your sense of peace. And I think even though we're not necessarily going to be looking at statistics here, you know, in detail, I think we still have to be able to allay people's fears by addressing some of those statistics. And in my own research, what I noted was that there was a rise in certain types of criminal behavior among certain sections of society in terms of the age groups, right? So we're looking at a rise in violent behaviors between the 17s and between 17 and 25-year-olds, and mostly males, even though, yes, we do have females also being involved in criminal activity. I don't know to what extent there is a plan for any collaboration between the efforts of the Royal Barbados Police Force and perhaps what is happening in our school system, right? I don't know if you can speak to that in terms of what type of partnership or what type of initiatives can be put in place to help quell what seems to be a rise in violent behavior, criminal behavior among youth, even though the research is saying that a lot of these young people are school dropouts or they have been expelled.
Ma'am, we have been working with these schools for many years because we partner with the schools in the DARE program. We have extended the DARE program now from primary to secondary school, right? There's some schools that what we do, we have officers going according to how the principal, we work with the principal and target some of the deviant behavior within the school. When I was in charge of the Southern Division, the Northern Division, I had such a plan at what was then St. James Secondary, Frederick Smith now, and it worked because they know who are the ones in the school that give in trouble. And we set up a program to work with them. But the problem is that when they come out of school, we are hard pressed to keep track of them, right? Because understand that they move from one area to the next very freely, and sometimes you don't even know when they're moving. Parents don't even know where children are at times. So it is that we are still working or looking at other avenues, and we are hoping that we can reach out even further. But we have the DARE program into secondary schools now, but the problem really is to work with the dropouts, the ones that we call the dropouts that are either expelled or for some reason they just decide they're done with school. How are we going to do that? We try to reach out by community policing and try to reach out on the blocks. I am not too sure. That's a hard fight, but we are not giving up on it.
Any questions for Superintendent Rowe?
Can I start a table here? Superintendent, I really do a lot of movement in St. Philip, all around St. Philip. And I am hearing rumor that there's a popular name that now lives in St. Philip, coming from down north. infamous would be the right description. Can you attest to that as a rumor that this man with a nickname that is associated with the church?
I can tell you, sir, that that's just a rumor. I am not going to sit here and tell you that he may not come into St. Philip. But I can tell you that's just a rumor because we know for sure he's not living in St. Philip. Okay. He is on a program from the court. Okay. And we have to visit his residence where he's supposed to be living, right? And he has to report to a police station daily.
That's comforting.
Good evening. Hey, good evening. Yes, good evening, everyone. I have about 3 questions, and the first one would be geared to you and Mr. Rowe, and also the minister. And this has to do with the pretty larceny, which is a crime, and of recent, a lot of it has been going on. How seriously are the police force addressing this issue of pretty larceny? And also, as the Minister of Agriculture is here as well, I don't know if you can speak a little bit on that as well. Secondly, over the past 2 years, you've been hearing of an increase in crime in the St. Philip area. I know it wasn't always like that, but as I say, of recent, you've been hearing over the news and the programs, brass tacks and so forth, about this level of increased criminal activity in the St. Philip area. I don't know if you can speak to the demographic of the persons committing these crimes, and also I heard you spoke about the women also, which also speaks to gender as well. So you can give us an idea of, you know, who you may look for, because sometimes persons may look towards younger people who may be committing these crimes. But as you will know, or you may know, or you have the information to support it, that it may not always be the case. So I don't know if you can enlighten us on that area.
Let me address the pretty larceny issue first from the police point of view. The pretty larceny is their problem, right? And what compounds the problem is that the government put some laws in place, and the farmers are not using the laws. Let me explain what I mean by that. Now, if you're a farmer and you are selling produce, you should issue that person that buying that produce a certificate, right? Showing the quantity, the value, and where it was bought. We have officers that we go out, well, mainly in Bridgetown, and where people sell on the site and check. And I can tell you that many a times you go back, or you have that person take you back to the source. And the source is a farmer. But the more you preach to them, you know what they're saying? Oh, that's time consuming. And not only the small farmers, you know, the plantation owners, it is time consuming. So I want to implore on you and the farmers, there is the provision for the issuing of these certificates and things, and that will assist us in dealing with the pretty larcenies. Right? In St. Philip, again, we have charged many persons because there are the pretty larcenies are repeat offender. So we know who they are. All right? But if you find them with produce, when you find them with produce, the produce sometimes is very difficult to identify. I know that they got different ways of identifying them, but then the time that is reported, that produce could be sold very fast. All right? In respect of the increase in crime, yes, there is an increase in crime in the St. Philip area, sir. There's an increase in burglaries, not very heavily, but our concern with crime in this area is the gun crime. all right? Not only in this area, but in Barbados. Okay? The gun crime. We are doing our utmost best to close the avenues from illegal guns getting into Barbados. It's a hard job. It involves other agencies. All right? We have started to reap some success, and I can tell you that so far, we have, in my division alone, we have recovered about 15 guns off the streets by execution search warrants. So the Royal Barbados Police Force is working very hard. But the problem is the influx of the weapons is far outweighing the recovery of them. And you saw the syndication that is happening with the weapons and the use of weapons. All right? I would just leave it there because I don't want to go into any investigation, but there is syndication in the use of weapons here in Barbados.
Finally, to the Minister, can you assure us, as the Minister for St. Philip South, that with you and the police, that the persons in St. Philip South area and the extension, the further St. Philip, you would be working very hard to at least try to at least, I know you can't do it yourself because you are not in law enforcement, but at the ministerial level, would you be seeking to assist the police in whatever way you can to bring this crime level down in the St. Philip area? Thank you.
Hello. I want to thank you, first of all, for coming. I will not speak again unless to acknowledge Dr. Elcott, who is the pastor of this church. It would be remiss of me if I didn't acknowledge his presence at this point in time. The question about predial larceny, the predial larceny legislation is before me. We just had a consultation with the farmers, and we are looking at making some amendments to the legislation before we take it back to Parliament then to have it proclaimed. And in that legislation, we are trying to take some of the pressure off the Royal Barbados Police Force by going to technology in using radio frequencies and GPS, etc. That consultation is currently taking place. The Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security provides incentives for people to put security systems on their farms, which is something that farmers must take up. I may have to address the way the incentives are handled. Currently, you have to front load the expenditure, and I suspect that is probably what is holding farmers back. But all this will be part and parcel of the consultation that is taking place right now with the farmers to make sure that when we take the legislation back to Parliament, it is fit for purpose. And if you listen to Senior Superintendent Rowe, he highlighted a very pertinent fact that the farmers are not spending the time to issue the certificates for the produce. But we have to even go a step further and providing more assistance to the farmers in terms of GPS tracking, chips in animals, and of course some drone technology as well. A lot of the farmers spoke about using the Jamaican model with the Defense Force. I know if you're paying attention, all of you will be acutely aware of the fact that the Defense Force is currently working with the Royal Barbados Police Force and some of the patrols that they're doing. But predial larceny is not just about human patrol. We have to have some use of technology, and those of you who have been following and paying attention to what I've been doing as Minister of Agriculture, I've been repeatedly saying, and I recognize that I'm going to have to repeat this and repeat this and repeat this and repeat this. Agriculture is moving to enclose farms so that you can put a freight farm right next to your house and nobody knows that you're doing farming. So already you're addressing the issues of predial larceny. And technology is helping us to be able to do that. All right. There are some crops, however, that we have to keep in open fields, like yams and potatoes, etc. And that is where then we will be focusing our attention, if we can then narrow down the amount of human resources needed to be able to manage and help farmers secure their farms. When the legislation goes back to Parliament, it will be going back after we have had extensive consultation with the farmers and with you, the consumers as well. Because many of you would prefer to purchase at a price below what the true price is without questioning where the goods come from. And you encourage the very thing that you want us to protect the farmers from. So be mindful, all right? We can only go so far. The farmers have a role to play. You, the consumers, have a role to play as well, all right? And one of the things that really peeved me as a member of Parliament is to see how easy it is for people to complain and criticize, not recognizing the very thing we are trying to protect them from, they're going out there and doing. Hard reality. A hard reality. All right? But we would try to make it fit for purpose and then bring it back. The other thing you asked about working with the Royal Barbados Police Force, I am hoping that we can repeat these sessions right across St. Philip. And because I am the elected member of Parliament for St. Philip South, I have started the initiative in St. Philip South. But I don't want to just leave it here in St. Philip South. I want to make sure we cover all of St. Philip. And I want all of you, when you leave here this evening, go out and spread the word that we will be coming with more of them. Because you need to feel secure in your homes. And I have a responsibility. I feel a sense of responsibility to all of you by making sure we reach out to the Royal Barbados Police Force and helping us in getting the message across to you that your role is to help provide the police with information, but equally, the foundation is yours to build on. It starts in the home. And that is going to be my solid message every time I speak at one of these town hall sessions, that we are, and I am personally working with the Royal Barbados Police Force, but that equally, I want all of you to recognize that you too have a role to play in making sure that what we put out in terms of the future of our country are suitable for what you are asking for in terms of national security.
Good evening. To the Senior Superintendent, Mr. Rowe. I live in Ruby, St. Philip. And for the last 4 years, we had 3 murders. One is recently this year, a couple months ago. So I'm asking you, at discretion, if an outpost between Ruby and Work Hall would be necessary in the community.
We are currently looking at a mobile unit that we can move from area to area according to what is happening. Right? The problem is getting the funding to get that unit. We've we've gotten some help in that we just had the one in the New Orleans refurbished because it started to deteriorate. So yes, we are looking at that type of policing, and we've moved even to having officers in the area. You may not see them, but most of the time we have officers in this area and they're in plain clothes because of what we're dealing with. All right? But yes, we are looking to that type of policing and reaching out to the communities and being a part of the community. So depending on how soon we get the financial assistance, we may be able to put a unit. It would not be permanent, but we move them, you know what I'm saying, around.
Senior Superintendent Rowe, just going to pick up on what you said just now about trying to create that sense of partnership with the community. In your earlier comments, I heard you constantly reiterating that you want people to come to you with information. Could you let us know what is the state of that? What's happening where that is concerned? Are you getting a lot of people in the community coming to the police with information? And if that's not the case, how do you think you can create that type of relationship with the community where people feel a lot more comfortable coming to the police, coming forward with information that is pertinent?
The state of information coming to us from the community is not what we would like. We have information coming through Crime Stoppers. We have information coming through the police hotlines, and people call me direct, right? But I will say the type of information that we really want to focus on is information in relation to these violent crimes. And why is not coming forward? Because of fear. All right? People are in fear of retaliation or being hurt. Because I can tell you this is what has come out from our investigation. Okay? And the criminal mind or criminal element today seems to think that they can threaten people as they like. So people will refuse or step back from coming forward. But there is a means they can send the information forward. So that's why we are still, and we need to reach out, and we need to let people know that the information, you don't have to give your name. You can just call, give the information, and it will be worked on.
Okay, we have the gentleman in the back first, and then this gentleman here. Go on.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Jerome Davis. I just want to follow up on the question you asked because I was waiting patiently to ask a similar question. Now, all afternoon we are hearing about this information from the public. And everyone knows, quite easy to ask for that, but the fear, as Superintendent said, I would not call the hotline, police hotline. I would not call Crime Stoppers. Nobody trusts the telephone technology to give information. There's always this fear of one being able to trace numbers and so forth. So I think those two are not that reliable and will not get the information you need. Now, there's a simple, in my humble opinion, way that it can be done, and I think it would be more beneficial and you would probably get more information. Goes back to the old method of writing. I believe the police should set up a desk, information desk, with an address that is made public. Anybody can write. I can walk to Bridgetown with my letter. My name is not on it, no return address, and I can pop it in any mailbox and it reaches that desk. I would do that, but I would not call you. I would not call Crime Stoppers. So I want to leave that suggestion with you, and I hope that you will take it up, because I believe the whole of Barbados would be only too eager and willing to provide the information that you're looking for, but they're not going to call you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I can tell you that people are still using that old information system by writing us anonymously. That is still happening. But yes, it can even be used more widely because of the fear of telephones. These things now you can put up on here, you can know whoever is calling you down to the person's name. So I agree with you on that.
Good evening. Just hope that I wouldn't be repeating myself. I came in a little late, so I didn't hear your full lecture. But I just want to ask, if we, by focusing so much on the murder, you know, on when you have a murder in Barbados, the press, everyone tend to focus primarily on that. And is it stopping us from looking at the whole on the crime situation in its entirety and exactly how to deal with it? How do we arrest the various elements of the problem? And I say this against the background that, well, in my case, I spent 10 years attached to, I wouldn't call it the area of crime in terms of I would call it more in area of security for an extremely big company. And this brought us to see how places like the FBI in New York, the cops in New York and that kind of thing worked. And Mayor Giuliani, when he started off in New York, he wasn't really focusing primarily on the murders that was taking place across those states. He, along with a lot of different organizations, more or less focus on crime from its root up. And very seldom they found themselves being sidetracked by, you know, just one or two murders taking place. But he was trained, they're along, and it so happened that the police force was just a part of trying to solve the situation of crime within that area. And I also saw it in a couple parts in Mexico as we travel around. So I am wondering if, you know, if the methods of tackling the whole crime situation, crime in its entirety, isn't being pulled away in light of the fact that you're very limited in terms of manpower and womanpower. The other area that I would ask a question on is if the methods of crime fighting have changed over the years. You asked for the support of the public, and we know that is very, very key in solving crimes. But from the police end, are you retraining the police as to how to approach the public? For example, there's a story that has been going around for the last few months where a cop in a fairly racial area of the States, police siren on a lady, white cop, black woman, you know, all alarms went up. And he told her to follow him, and he carried her right into car parts department. And she was alarmed because she was feeling, well, this cop is going to arrest me. He said, no, your family, your children, and your husband is more important than me handing you a ticket. And immediately he turned a woman who was really against the cops in their favor. And now that woman is working to assist the cops in that particular state. So I'm wondering if the police now is being retrained as to how to deal with the public, how to get them more on their side rather than pushing them away from them. Because part of the reason why I was a bit late is we just had a robbery only a few hours ago in the district of Long Bay, which is my district. And this time last week, three guys around the same time was stuck up at gunpoint in the district. So we need, I agree with you, sir, that we really need the public working hand in hand with the security forces, but it is how do both sides reach out to each other. I think that is the common ground that that we all have to find.
Your point is well taken, sir. But I can assure you that we are seriously working daily. We retrain our officers. Officers today get more training than when they was a young officer. We retrain our officers. We get assistance from Mexico now, Canada, England. I was fortunate I had training in England, right? And the efforts are there. The efforts are there, but understand, I follow what you said, Boy Michael, because I follow that system, and that is simple community policing that the commissioner then went back to. You understand? And as we are trying to get, well, we can't get to that level, but we are fighting to work with it. The problem is there are some of us that are not taking on the community-style policing. Some people see it as a soft policing method. It is not a soft policing method. It's a method of working with the community. When I joined this force, policing was a closed door something. You're going, something happens, you're going to deal with it. Today, it's not like that. We have now branched out with our training. We're training government security guards, everybody, and we're working with them because the things that are happening in Barbados, we can't refuse to police the same street crimes that are happening, like the robberies and the burglaries. We have to focus on the murders as well. So what we are doing, I can tell you, we heavily depend on the Barbados Defense Force. Okay? They go out with us. We go to, even now in policing events. This is crop over. And this brings a heavier burden on us from a policing standpoint. And what we are working with, training up security personnel and government so that at least we can have them in the forefront at these events, and we will have a skeletal staff to provide that police support for them. So yes, we are reaching out to people. But everything takes time.
I am going to pose this question to the minister before we take this question from the audience. Obviously, we have our senior superintendent role, and a lot of the focus is on what the police is doing and what they can do. But I'm thinking that if we're going to really examine the impact of crime on our communities, on our nation, and we're really about allaying fears, as the minister said at the beginning, and giving Barbadians back a sense of community empowerment and individual empowerment, what can we do at the constituency level, at the community level, to really bring the various parties together, the church, the school, the same police force, various organizations, sports groups, etc. How can we help people to really feel that they have power and that they don't have to just rest on their laurels and wait for the police to do everything? We're not taking away their responsibility, but how can we help individuals in the wider community to feel empowered instead of fearful?
Thank you for the question. Let me start by saying that the leadership method of allowing people to participate. So you will find that, let's say, for example, this evening, we could have easily had a branch meeting, which is the traditional way for us to function. What we chose instead is to bring people from the various communities here for us to have a conversation about an issue that is obviously bothering most of the people. I have open doors policy where I actually every Wednesday sit down to take suggestions from people, not just for them to come and seek jobs and stuff like that, but to take suggestions. And we have a youth arm within our branch as well, where we encourage young people to come out and participate. One of the young men who's currently here with us led a cleanup campaign at Foul Bay, where he actually reached out to people within the various communities of St. Philip South to come and help us clean up Foul Bay. Foul Bay was being used literally as a dumping ground, where people took dead animals. I mean, and these things really contribute to a lot of the breakdown in society that we see when you see adults who are actually walking with children and taking them to dump stuff on a beach. It's part of the breakdown we have in society, that you would have a dead animal, and rather than seek to dispose of that dead animal the proper way, you will go to the skip at Foul Bay and throw it in there. And we are doing these campaigns across the constituency to help people to recognize that they have a role to play in all of this. And the president, when he spoke this evening, he said that he's not treating to this as politics, because I know how people can push back when you hear politics involved. So all of what we are doing as well, we are trying to sanitize it to the extent that we're not making it a hardcore political approach to what we're doing, because we do need you, the people, to come out and participate. The camp that is about to start at Rice's, which will be the Technology Smart Camp that is coming for this summer holiday as well, is designed for our young people to participate, so that they too can get involved in giving back to the community. When I campaign across St. Philip South, stating that we want to bring back as many of the neighborhood watch groups, like the powerful one we have in Union Development, for example, that continues to function. And the one that we have in Ruby Park, even though I've been asking them for the longest while to give me a chance to come and put a town hall meeting there, and for some reason can't get it done, so we resorted to coming here. Right across the constituency, you will see we have placed signs that said, keep our environment clean, and we went into the schools and put on an essay competition for the young people in the community to write, sharing their views on how we can keep our communities clean. And then across the same constituency, you're going to see signs saying, straight talk, we against violence. If you go down by Linton Shop there, you'll see a sign that says ceasefire. And these are all the things that we are doing as part of the community drive to bring the people in the communities together and to create an awareness for them to participate in helping us wrestle this problem to the ground. So a lot has been going on. I really want to endorse what Senior Superintendent Rowe said when he mentioned the Neighborhood Watch organizations, because I attend the meetings of the ones in Union, and I can speak firsthand about how organized they are. And they don't fail to invite me. So we have a working relationship. Long Bay Development as well. There's a very good Neighborhood Watch organization that functions there as well. And what was my campaign? That I want not to come and knock on your door every afternoon or every day to tell you, oh, I'm your MP, vote for me next time. I deem that to be too much, and it is really not the way, in my opinion, even though some people will pillory me and say, oh, the last time I saw you was in the newspapers, not recognizing that forums like these are the ones that you should want to see me in, because these are the sessions that are designed to help you to participate, so that you're not only relying on the Royal Barbados Police Force or the Barbados Defense Force or an MP, but that if we can bring back that community spirit and get people involved in all of the efforts that we are putting out in terms of the summer camps for children, in terms of the cleanup events across the constituency, in terms of discipline and garbage separation, where we are now going to be bringing the bins to the constituency where you can separate your garbage, and so you don't have to dump everything one time for the Sanitation Service Authority to come and take away. And then in terms of coming to share with us, just like Jerome shared with Senior Superintendent Reed, Rose, sorry, is it Roe or Reed? I keep getting it. Roe. His idea of how he can report or stop a crime from taking place. We can work together in doing these things, and a lot is being done through my president and his team and my personal assistant and my constituency assistant as well. But I also am open to suggestion, because the participatory route is the one that I prefer, where people actually come and share good ideas or share ideas, and out of those ideas we select the ones that are workable. And Ryan, I want to support you and salute you for the work you've done at Fulby. I think all of you should really acknowledge it. And I'm asking for more of this, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. We have another question.
Good evening. This is not really a question, right? I would like to concur with the Honorable Minister on his statement this afternoon. The problems that we are having in Barbados has absolutely nothing to do with the church, the schools. It is a parental problem. If parents will raise their children the way they should be raised, we would not have these issues that we are having in society today. About 2 months ago, I was in Calamarock, and 2 females alighted from a ZR van. And as they got out, the expletives would have brought the birds out of the air. Okay? And on inquiring, they were mother and daughter. They were each trying to outdo the other one in abusing the ZR driver or conductor. I don't know which one. So our problem is one of parental bringing up. Right? If we train our children in the way that they should go, according to the Bible, we would never have the issues that we are having in Barbados today. And people who didn't create those issues are the people who have to deal with them now. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Senior Superintendent. My issue comes back to the point that you were making in terms of use of technology. The thing is that when something happens, before you can wink your eye, it's on Facebook, it's on Instagram, it's on this social media. Therefore, what are we doing as a community to set up a response community within the same social media that when these things get posted, a positive response is put back on the social media at the same time that gives people 2 sides of the story to see and let them form an opinion on their own. I can concur with what the guy just said about family upbringing, but there ain't no choice. You come up in a house and hearing the expletives. You go out and hear it. What choice you have? Then you have the problem, and we have it. And therefore, we have to devise a means of communicating with these people. And the gentleman there talked about the whole question of approach and making people feel wanted. A lot of those people don't know no better, so they don't feel wanted. So we need to use the technology one and to make a lot of these young people feel wanted. I have been in a field that have to deal with all kinds. And I recognize that sometimes you hear these young people, and when you take the time to talk to them, you understand that they don't have a clue what they are talking about, and they're just repeating and regurgitating what they have been hearing. So we need to take the time to interact with these young people. I agree that the threats will come, and we need to know how and when. And if you use the technology, and you can get the technology developed where when it hit Facebook, Facebook get hit back. Thanks.
One thing, sir, I would like to say, even though I am moderating, if you can bear with me, I'm someone who would have had lots of experience dealing with young people. And I mean no disrespect, but one of the things that I am challenged with is, even as we speak about the issues confronting our society today, we like to use the term, quote unquote, these young people. And when we say these young people, we are actually putting the young people out there apart from us. And the young people are very much a part of our responsibility, and they are our young people. I'm not saying that you meant anything by it, but the language itself is one that is meant to me to separate. You know, they're the ones doing this thing to us, these young people, when really and truly they're our young people who've been raised in our homes, who have gone to our schools. And even though we have promoted the idea, we accede to what the scripture says in training up a child in the way it should go, we cannot less count the role of collective society, the role which the church, we are living in a fallen world, a sin-filled world that is very, very imperfect. So we don't have perfect ideal scenarios to deal with. We have broken homes, abuse, children. I was once privy to information where a child was being abused by both her father and her grandfather, who were both sleeping in the bed with her. Okay? And she is one who got into drugs. I know a lot of these things firsthand. So I'm saying that even though we say, yes, the parents should do this and the parents should do that, the parents have deficits. Therefore, that's why the church has to step in. That's why the community organizations have to step in to help, because they have the deficits as well.
And I accept that, and no offense taken. And like you, I have come into contact with all kinds at different levels. The Superintendent Rowe would know that I was involved in sport at a significant level as well, so I saw it. And I am agreeing with you.
Yes.
But we, the adults, have to take the responsibility. That's why I said that we need to interface with a lot of those young people, because they know no different. When we see a fella doing foolishness, what's wrong with us taking a minute to interface with him and say that is not the right way, and try to show him, isn't this a better way? You could say that in a different way. I have done that, so I know it can work.
Yes. Thank you.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I do agree with, sorry, I do agree with what you were saying about most of us saying these young people. I always used to defend the young people, always, in everything. But recently, I'm guilty now of saying these young people too, because last year changed my mind totally, right? When those young people murdered my son, right? So, I mean, I'm still trying to deal with that.
Understood.
And yes, I still have another child who is also young, so I am trying to deal with that part as well. And, okay, going back, talking about the crime, I mean, it's horrible for anybody to go through it. we don't understand until we really have to live through it, right? You sit and you hear everybody say whatever, all is well and good. But when you have to deal with it, it is a different situation, right?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
But I will maintain I'm still not going to live in fear.
Thank you. And I think we can learn from your experience. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
My question was to the senior superintendent. I know there used to be a outpost in 6 Roads, St. Philip. I'm wondering what has become of that in light of the question that was asked about the outpost in having an outpost in Ruby and in Work Hall. So I knew that there was one there in 6 Roads. We know that there's a lot of demographic changes in St. Philip. The second part of my question is, how has the police responded to that? Seeing that we have now the population of St. Philip, probably would have doubled over the years. And in light of this, if they're making any provisions for having, increased members of the force operating here in St. Philip, not only on a one-off basis, not only when there's crime, but if there would be a permanent situation to deal with the increase in population. To the minister, and maybe this is not a question maybe that I should pose to you, but saying that you're a member of parliament and you may be able to convey the message to the right person. What about research? Maybe if the criminologists that we have here, if they're really doing research on the local situation, even within the educational situation where you mentioned that they have to do things in school. I'm always appalled that a child who would have left home at 3 years for the nursery and sometimes even before that, and then finishing at 18, then by 18 or 19 or 21, he's a hardened criminal. I'm saying that there must be a failure along the way. And I'm wondering if we're talking about reform of the common entrance. I think that might be the BLP's Brexit. I don't want to be political, but I think that might be your Brexit. And for the simple reason that the problems that we are having with crime, I think that could be addressed, not in just a change like that, but to look at schooling in the sense that the same way you're asking the superintendent to meet the public at a different level, that we are meeting the children at different levels. Just think of it. This idea of stopping down in classes and so on, old-time-ish. Why I say that? A child who stops down maybe because he gets 8 or so or 0 in a particular subject area that he's never fond of or not proficient in might well be the chap who is scoring 70 or 80 in mathematics. Can we have sliding classes where this child goes to the class in his advanced level? I went to school with a boy who was so good at mathematics, but he couldn't get Latin and all the other things done. And he kept stopping, and it always troubled me from then. Why are you going to waste such a mathematical mind? In the end, such a child then would be a problem to the senior superintendent, because others are going to find ways out there to use his mathematical mind. Either as a con man or something like that. So I'm saying that sometimes the real radical changes that we want in the school is along that line. And why I ask for research, these things, anybody ever look to see what is the satisfaction that people get out of the common entrance examination? Is it a benefit to others? How do parents and everything feel about that? So I'm saying that if we're going to help people, our initiative must be coached in proper research. I'm not talking about things that you hear from Britain and something that you read in a book. The black child doesn't operate in that way. And furthermore, we don't know where that research has been, what I would call doctored. So my question to you is, how are we going to address those kind of things through education to the senior superintendent, what about the outpost in 6 Roads, if you remember that? And, you know, if we can really move forward with because of the demographic situation in St. Philip, if we are looking at having additional policemen here in the parish. Okay, I'm sorry that these are our
final questions, so we're going to ask for succinct answers.
I'm sorry that we didn't have the AG with us.
Thank you.
Because a lot of the times the policemen might solve the crime, but one of the fear is that the judges and the magistrates put them back on the streets.
Okay, thank you, sir. We're going to ask the panelists to answer as briefly as possible.
If I may start, thank you for your question.
Thank you.
The outpost in 6 Roads was destroyed by fire. So, and then the closure of the post office meant we had to remove the structure from there, right? We were trying to get a new location for it, but we have not. And there were plans of relocating the police station. That too went by the wayside. Because I personally think that with the growing, St. Philip is the fastest growing parish in Barbados, then St. Lucie. And I agree with you that we look at demographics and our strategies and maybe look to centralize the police station in St. Philip and a substation probably in St. John to deal with the St. John traffic and policing of St. John, right? The other issue, the increase of police officers, that is challenging for us. We are about 280 short. We are constantly recruiting, but the numbers are not what we are expecting. We are even looking at a cadet program so that we can bring see if we can get some young people coming out into the cadet program, and hopefully they will come over into the force. But the recruitment drive is there. We keep it thing, but the numbers coming in is very short. The last course we had past our training school was about 20-something officers. When I recruited, my course alone was 36. And we had 160-something officers up there. But it is the times that we're in now.
Mr. Mayor, you want to have the closing answer?
Well, to be very honest with you, I thought that the good gentleman was trying to unfair me. Because I came here as MP for St. Philip South and Minister of Agriculture and Food Security. And he bowled me a googly about education. I'm happy to report, though, that in your preamble, you mentioned a lot of the things that we are actually looking at in terms of fit for purpose in the school system. And you would have noticed that the Prime Minister has been speaking a lot about vocational training as well, which should be in the forefront of what we are doing, because academia is not for everybody. We did do some research on the qualification criteria for school selections. And I think the structure that we have in place, if my memory serves me correctly, dates back to somewhere around 1870. That is known because the research is being done. And that's why that information has been put out there in the public. The educational system, however, needs a total revamping. And the minister has been speaking to that as well. Now, I would be unfair in the minister if I seek to speak to what she's actually seeking to do with education, except that I would say that I agree with her wholeheartedly in changing the approach in terms of the 11+ exam. And whilst I do agree that we still need centers of excellence, there must be a way that we now project how we deal with those centers of excellence. I have been on record for saying that the child that does not pass for Harrison College should not feel as though he's or she's a failure. I never had the privilege of writing the 11 plus exam. And I have passed through university. I have a master's degree. And the reality of it is that I don't know what would have happened if I had written it. But the truth be told is that we now need to look at what we are putting the children through in terms of how parents themselves pressure children at the sitting of the 11 plus exam. You would find that the parents show up the morning of the exam, won't leave the premises. All those things need to be addressed, and I think the minister is quite right in seeking to bring a contemporary approach to the way we treat to matriculation and the way we treat to our educational system, and a new structure that is fit for purpose. I hope that I've answered you. And the question you raised about the Attorney General, he gave me the assurance that he will come and speak at one of our branch meetings. He was away up to yesterday evening, and it would have been difficult for him to get here this evening, but he is committed as well to speaking to all of you at a future date to be determined by us.
Good evening. Mr. Minister, Senior Superintendent, President, and Moderator, thank you for your heartfelt presentations thus far. My question or musing is more about when trouble comes home to you. When you've been a good parent and then you recognize that you have a deviant child in your home and they're bringing trouble into your home. How do we, as parents, how do parents deal with something like that? It almost feels as if we have lost an entire generation to the order. I'm not sure how pervasive it is in terms of our youth, but it almost seems as if we have lost a whole generation. How do we deal with it when it comes to home? What agencies are there to help us? Do we put our children out on the street? How do we deal with them? The other thing has to do with how does the church work with you? I know for a church, our church particularly, we have prison ministry, and we go and, you know, we try to reach these persons so that when they come back into society, at least, you know, they've heard the gospel and there's some change, an internal change for them. But how do you deal with trouble coming home and putting our children out? Or how do we deal with that? How do you help us, I should say, deal with that along with maybe the church and any other agencies that might be there?
From the police perspective, we have units that can help. We are not in the business of criminalizing young people. We have programs that we put deviant persons through. Some of them, it works for some, it may not work for others. In addition to that, there's counseling that we set up for them, right? That we can work. If the problem is in there, is that the individual must want that help that we offer. It takes some time. Sometimes you go through a treatment program. Depends on what it is, right? I can tell you, I know of a young chap. When he was a sergeant, he was 13 years old. I charged him because he too came out of very poor parents like myself and the minister. And two older fellows use him and bring him into crime, right? He was charged because it was a series of crimes that they were committed. But that chap told me there and then the morning, I took him to court. Sir, I'm sorry for giving you trouble. I ain't getting to court, none again do my time. That chap went and spent some time at Glengarry, came out, and they can tell you that the day he walked, President, he walked into my office, and this is about 15, 16 years now, and he is a product and a person I would speak to anywhere I go. He came out, he went to church, he has his own business now, he has his own family, and he went to the university, but he realized where he was at, and he wanted the help, and he took the help. So one got to realize that they're at that position that they need that help, and we can work with them. And we are there to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we want to thank our panelists for being a part of a very robust discussion. I'm sure that there are still some other questions and comments that some of you may have wanted to share, but time is against us. So I want to thank Senior Superintendent Rowe and our Minister Indar Weir for their contributions. Thank you, those of you who have had your questions, who have put your questions forward for the panel for discussion. And if there's anything you take away from this discussion this evening, certainly it would be that we don't want to be riddled with fear. We understand that we do have some level of crisis on our hands, but we believe that as a community we can work together, whether church, whether school, whether social club, and certainly at the level of the constituency, to stem the tide of violence in our communities. Thank you so much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Madam Moderator. Our moderator for this evening was Denise Charles, and she did a fantastic job. She's an experienced educator who has taught for several years at the secondary, college, and university levels. She recently completed her doctorate in educational leadership at the University of the West Indies, and she also serves as adjunct faculty with the Open Campus. In addition, she is an author, radio talk show host, certified counselor, and director of the Better Blends Relationship Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for our moderator, Ms. Denise Charles. At this time, I invite the goodly Reverend of this house, Reverend Dr. Alcock, and he's going to close in prayer. I want to take Dr. Alcock, I want to take this privilege to say thank you to the team at the Ruby Church of the Nazarene for accommodating us. Mr. Paul Greenwich, the head of the multimedia team and the sound department, we give you special thanks. This event was streamed live on Facebook and across several other media platforms. We would like to say thank you as well to the Honorable Minister Indar Weir, Minister for the St. Philip South Branch of the BLP, and by extension, the Minister of Agriculture. Our illustrious panel, headed by our moderator, facilitators as well, Senior Superintendent Rowe, and our branch president, Mr. Andrew Glasgow. The theme for this evening was the impact of crime. I know that you have several other questions. We encourage you to make use of our Facebook pages as well as the hotlines that you would have seen come up. You can post your questions. Feel free to go home and also look at the stream, and you can post your questions, or you can come over on Wednesdays to the constituency office and speak directly to our Minister Weir. I am Faye Murrow. We now turn over to the Reverend Dr. Alcock, and he will close in prayer. Thank you.
Let me say good night to all of you. It really would be remiss of me before I pray if I did not say to you that I'm very proud to have been able to have you here with us at the Ruby Church of the Nazarene, particularly those of you who may never have been here before. I'm really thankful to God for having you with us. And I've always thought that if you do not have a place to worship, you can consider this to be home. Let's all stand. Father, we are indeed grateful to you for your goodness and your mercy towards us. We believe that you are God who understands all things. We have sat and we've discussed the level of crime in the area of St. Philip, but more widely spread Barbados. Father, we know that you've got the answers. We thank you for the level of discussion that was realized. We thank you for Superintendent Rohr, Minister Ware, the persons who have got to deal with these issues. Give them the strength, the intellectual ability to put systems in place. But more importantly, we need to understand that our source of strength comes from you. You are the answer. You brought us here this evening where we were able to engage ourselves in a robust discussion. We are asking you for your protection as we leave this place and go to our homes. We are asking you, divine God, that we will go in peace and safety. And we also ask you that as we go, we would concentrate and meditate on what was discussed, and as parents, help us to be better than we really are right now. May the grace of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the love of God, the fellowship of his Holy Spirit, rest and abide with us now and forevermore. Amen. God bless you. Have a very good night.
Thank you, sir.
It's hurting. Everybody, I say, doctor, hurting.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining our on-stream broadcast live from the Ruby Church of the Nazarene under the theme Impact of Crime. We encourage you to join us again for the next town hall meeting. I am Faye Morrill. This has been a production of the St. Philip South Branch of the BLP in association with the Ruby Church of the Nazarene. God bless you until we meet again. Good evening.